What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PlayStation Drive, episode 129. My name is Matt, and I'll be your host for today's adventure. I'm joined for the second time, coming back to hang out with me, not Court, forget that guy. We got Jake from GameXplain. What's going on, Jake? Welcome back to the show.
Yo, so good to be here. Taking the wheel. Get out of here, Court. All right.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Dude, it's awesome to have you back. We're going to be talking about PlayStation Portal. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. We're going to be talking about ads in gaming because that was a hot topic in the last week. But before we get into all of that, Jake, how's it going? How are you doing?
Oh man, it's going good. I've just found out that I've got everything booked. I'm going to the Game Awards next week.
Yes, you are.
So I'm excited about that. A little trip out to Los Angeles. My fiance's coming with me. We're going to spend, the whole weekend there. Have a good little time.
Heck yeah. Are the Game Awards next week?
Next week, dude. Next week. Yeah, my flight's on Wednesday. Show's on Thursday.
Dude, time is a flat circle. I have no idea what's going on anymore. It feels to me like the Game Awards is like a month away.
I know. Dude, November, December. It goes fast.
Dude, yeah. Seriously. Well, I hope you have an awesome time.
Thank you.
I can't wait to hear your thoughts about it because I'm sure it is going to be a blast. So let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Before we get into everything else. What announcement for Jake would get you the most hype? I'm not talking about probability. I'm not talking about realistic. But if you go there and I hear it, I'm like, that was Jake on that stream screaming. What game?
This is easy. This is an easy one. The second Multiverses shows up on screen, I am that guy in the audience hooting and hollering for the return of Multiverses. That was my game of the year last year. I loved Multiverses. And really excited for it to come back. We know it's coming back in 2024, and I think the Game Awards is the right time to debut the return. So I feel it. I feel like it's happening. It has a good chance of being there, and I'm going to be the one person in that audience that's going to be going wild for that Multiverses return, baby. Yeah, that's it. Easy.
Dude, Multiverses felt great. I preferred it to the what's it called, Nick All Stars. I'm hearing great things about the second one. So I'd be curious about the return of Multiverses. What character are you hoping for here for? What's
okay.
What's the one?
Yeah, so honest to God, I'm like a Superman freak. So Superman's already in the game. Like, he's my favorite fictional character of all time. So I'm already, like, the fact that I've got a platform fighter where I can be Superman, I'm already satisfied. But a new character, I want Larry David.
What does that move set look like? Is that is he a ranged character? I've never watched Curb. I've seen enough clips. I've seen the GIFs. So I feel like I have the energy of the character. What does that character even look like?
Okay, it's a lot of kind of like falling onto people. I think there's definitely throwing coffee in disgust. I think like loudly coughing and people like recoil away. Just kind of doing things that like make people uncomfortable. I think is his mechanics. Yeah.
I hope that dream comes true for you. I hope next week we get a Larry David reveal. We get Multiverses, the date. I hope that comes true for you, my friend, because that would be awesome.
Thank you very much.
But without further ado, let's clean this dirty old garage of ours because it gets dusty week to week. There was holidays going on. This thing was not properly taken care of. But if you're watching us live right now on youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that bell so you're notified when we go live. Leave us a comment. It helps and it does nice things for us. We appreciate it always. Make sure you like the stream. If you're listening to us on your podcast service of choice, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, leave us with that 5-star review. If Court and I remember, and that's the kind of the major modifier here, if we remember, we'll definitely we'll go through some of those reviews next month in kind of our year-end wrap-up. And of course, if you're on patreon.com/Carpool Gaming and you have bucks to toss our way into this good old tip jar of ours, out will come a cornucopia of content for you to consume. We appreciate all of you listeners so very much. We hope everybody had a wonderful holiday and is getting ready for even more holidays coming up very, very soon. But Jake, we got to talk before we get into the portal, because I know that's what we're gonna dig in here. I want to hear a little bit about what's been on your playlist lately. What's been capturing your heart and your attention?
All right, well, I'm glad you actually brought it up a little bit earlier, but I have been hopelessly addicted to Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2.
Okay.
Yeah, big time. Now, as your listeners may have figured out by now, I am just a platform fighter junkie. I truly love these things, and my honest opinion about it is like Smash Brothers is probably my favorite fighting game or my favorite video game franchise of all time, and I think that Nick Brawl 2 is probably a better fighting game than Smash is.
Really?
It's the way that it is built is like beautiful. I find it to be really impressive. There are some mechanics in this game that I think are inspired and ingenious. And I think what Nick Brawl 2 does is that it onboards players into the competitive mindset and experience better than Smash Brothers does. And it does it in like little ways. Like, for example, so like imagine you hit a character in Smash Brothers. If you're the person that gets hit, the amount of time you have until you can act out of that hit is very fast. You get hit, and then all of a sudden you can like jump out of the air. You can do an attack and response. It's very, very fast. In Nick Brawl 2, you get hit, and now you're kind of stuck. You are stunned, and it gives the person that did the hit an opportunity to actually do a combo and follow up, and it encourages that kind of mindset. It's like, what can you be creative? What can you make happen out of this? And then on top of that, you have the slime meter mechanic, where if you've played Street Fighter, if you've played Mortal Kombat, you've seen the meter on the bottom of the screen. You can use it to enhance your moves or get like movement options or build it up all the way and use an ultimate. Nick Brawl brings this to the platform fighter setting, and it works so well. One of my favorite things to do is you get hit by like a massive smash attack. You've got that momentum. You're flying to the other side of the screen. If you have 2 bars of meter, you hold these 2 buttons down, and it stops you right there. And it's like your get out of jail free card. It's like a comeback. It's like, okay, I'm going to do a little reverse Uno right here. And now I've got one more chance to maybe extend this fight a little longer, turn it around. Really, really cool game. It's so much more readable than the first one was. The first one was a mess in a lot of ways, but this has just been a delight for me to play. And the fact that like at launch, it has, impeccable online play with full cross-platform support. I did a stream over on GameXplain last week, and we had people on PC, PlayStation, Switch. Everybody was playing together in lobbies, 4-player matches, no latency.
That is incredible, dude, because I am as well a fan of the platform fighters. Smash, again, the amount of time I've spent with Smash, I don't even want to think about. Digimon Rumble Arena was a common occurrence. Yes, dude. Yeah, Rumble Arena was our thing for me and my brothers growing up. So when we played a bunch of multiverses, really liked it. I played a bunch of the original Nick All Stars. My brother owns it, and whenever I was back at home, we'd play it together because, again, it brings out that sibling rivalry. It's like he's always trying to win, and he sometimes never does. But to hear this, the timing might be perfect because I'm seeing my brothers for on Saturday. They're coming over, and it's just like, you know what? You may have just sold me on this game, because that's what I was wondering about. The first, because the first one came out relatively recently. It was in the last year and a half,
2 years, yeah,
2 years already now. Jesus, again, time. Yeah. But like for them to come out swinging, and like all I keep hearing about it, like friend of the show Kevin was talking how incredible the game is, and I was just like, did they really swing it around this much? So it's like, what else do they really capitalize on between 1 and 2 to really make this an even better experience? Because some people are putting on the Game of the Year list, which again, I never would have expected.
It's amazing. So I think this is one of the most substantially and materially improved sequels that I've played in video games in like years. It's like it's the jump from Smash 64 to Melee. Like, that's how big of a jump we're talking about. And so a couple of things that are really awesome about this game. The single player campaign mode, once again, inspired. Smash Brothers needs to slurp this up and steal it immediately. So it's a roguelite. And the idea is that like you've got these branching paths, so you pick which kind of like fight you want to do, and there's like mini games, there's individual fights, there's boss fights, and there are these levels where you just like fight all of these like minions from different Nickelodeon shows. So like ninjas from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fight you, but so are like fish from SpongeBob and ghosts from Danny Phantom, and it's like a fun little thing there. But it's fully voice acted. It is
nice.
There's a shocking amount of voice acting. Like I'm SpongeBob and I'm playing this roguelite mode, and I go, oh, okay, I'm gonna go on this path because it takes me to Mrs. Puff, or I can choose a new perk that will change my run. So I go see Mrs. Puff, and we just have a whole exchange about like, SpongeBob, have you been being a good noodle? And I'm like, yeah, dude. No, yeah, dude. Give me that perk. I've been being a good noodle.
Yeah.
And like, it's such a good time. Like there's so much personality, and it's so vibrant in a way that the first game was not. And I think that the challenge for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 is that video game characters from their inception are designed to be readable in a video game. There is a reason that when Mario punches and his fist gets bigger, that doesn't confuse anybody. We all go, oh yeah, I mean, that's what Mario does.
Sure,
like
yeah.
it's video game logic. But all of a sudden you have to now translate animations that were built for a cartoon, not for a video game, and you need to make them work in a video game, in a fighting game, which I think is a taller order than what Smash has to do, honestly. And sometimes it's more successful than others, but I think the degree of success that they have in this game is like nothing short of immaculate. It is one of my biggest problems with the first game was that I think at a platform fighter, because of the distance from the camera, you need to be able to read the action. I need to know what a hitbox is, what a hurtbox is, and I need to be able to make that judgment call in a second. Right. And the first game, it was all over the place. I was doing stuff and I was like, why isn't this hitting? Why is this, you know? Yeah. And now in this game, they cleaned up every animation. Every single veteran in this game has an almost entirely new moveset. So, dude, another thing I wish Smash would do, to the point that my main in the first game was Danny Phantom, and now in the second game, I'm awful with him.
Really?
Cannot play him. So it's really like the amount of love and care that have been put into these movesets, veteran and newcomer alike, incredible. And I gotta say, for like a lot of the newcomers and the veterans too, there's a degree to which I think a lot of Smash Brothers characters, if you understand the fundamentals of Smash, you can be successful with any character.
Yeah.
And then I think this game, the character archetypes are so much deeper that you could be amazing with one person and just god awful with somebody else because they're so different. The way you're supposed to play them is so unique to them that it's like a functionally really different gameplay experience. And I think it might turn some people off because you pick up the game, maybe you play as the wrong character and you go, oh, this doesn't feel right to me. And I'm like, no, just try somebody else. And maybe you'll like that more. So, yeah, really, really impressive game. Hats off to them. Have been since before it came out. I reviewed it. Pretty much that's just been like every day. Go online, climb the leaderboards, having a great time.
Dude, I'm seriously might have to pick this up like later today because a roguelike single player mode, A, huge win. B, I love the point that you made about translating, animation to different kinds of moves, because I feel like, especially with Smash Bros, a lot of the characters that you get come from games that are so entirely different that like you almost have carte blanche when it comes to how do we adapt what we know about these characters into moves that feel video gamey. When you spend with time with animation, it's like you could have watched hundreds upon hundreds of episodes of SpongeBob to understand that character. So if something doesn't feel right, I feel like when it comes to animation or characters from animation, it feels more egregious up front. And I feel like one of the biggest hills that, like, cause my, coming from my own self, like All Stars, the first one felt almost like a beta, right? The lack of voice acting coming into it. I feel like it launched well and people were like, this game is cool. And then it fell off very, very quickly. So I feel like we need more of this, of you talking about games like this, because I didn't know how big the improvement was, because for me it was like, okay, All Stars is back. You know what I mean? Like that's cool, but like I like the first one, that was fine. So I don't know. Oh, dude, you've just set me ablaze with this. Like I'm amped.
It is so awesome. I've been having such an amazing time with it, and I do want to shout out that if you look at like the credits and stuff, it appears to me that the development team is very different from the first game.
Interesting.
So, and I don't think that, and I think that they've kind of maybe hidden that on purpose. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, it's like an entirely different lead studio, and I think that they had a lot of surprising success with the first game, and it maybe let the publisher put some more money into it. It is just all around like a sharper, more polished product. And I'm really excited for the future of it. Like, I really like the roster right now, but they've announced the first wave of DLC, and the first character coming is Mr. Krabs. And
all right,
dude, Armor Abs Krabs in the house. Like, I can't wait to play as him. And I'm just curious to see what they do in the future, because I think this game's gonna have like a big tournament presence. And in a lot of their updates, they talk about like wanting to add like big features in future patches and things like that. So yeah, the game's future is looking bright. I feel like they get it. I feel like they pretty much took every lesson you could take from the first game, but then also added in a bunch of stuff that nobody even asked for. Like that roguelike campaign mode, it is so good. It is just so much fun. it like so much more fun than something like the World of Light in Smash Ultimate. And
Which
yeah,
felt
I
cool at first, but then like very quickly wore off its welcome, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. And it's the kind of thing where like sometimes I just want to, in a game like this, I just like want to play as a character I don't normally play too much as. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? Am I just gonna like fight CPUs for no reason or whatever? But like jumping into that campaign and like unlocking little trophies or like little banners for my online profile, little icons, stuff like that, it kind of goes a long way. Like it's a nice thing that feels like you're always making a little bit of progress. So yeah, I really like it.
Nice, dude. I will definitely probably be hopping into this ASAP because now you've just kind of again you've lit me ablaze here. I'm very, very curious to learn more.
I should disclose really quick. Some people have a problem with me for this, so I should disclose it, I guess, is that I was in a trailer for this game. And
dude, that's awesome.
Well, and some people take that to mean that I have like a biased perspective. And if that's your prerogative, that's fine. But I hope what I have said and the way I have articulated myself trumps that. But yeah, but if you watch the trailer for the Angry Beavers character spotlight, that's all me, baby. I'm doing all the talking. So there you go.
Hell yeah, dude. No, forget it. That's amazing. It's like,
Thanks.
But again, we know you were a fan of the first one. There's a lot of other people echoing the same sentiments about the second one. It's like if you care about the property, getting to work with that property, that's just awesome. That's great, dude. Yeah. Hell yeah. As for myself, I continue to play COD. I have not been this invested in a Call of Duty in a very, very long time, but there's just something about the multiplayer that has to keep coming back. I haven't even touched a single player, but the multiplayer has been a ton of fun. It's been really great, so I'm super, super enjoying that. Been playing a bunch of Persona 5 Tactica, loving it. Like, again, just scratches that itch. I didn't know I was in the mood for a tactics game, and here we are. You slap Persona onto anything, and I'm there. So for me, I was like, hell yeah. I've been playing it a lot on my phone through xCloud, of all things, with the touchscreen controls. Because, again, it's a tactics game. You don't need, an actual controller. And, again, the battles are quick. The strategy hits right. There are quests outside of the main story that you can do that are almost like Into the Breach-esque, where it's just like you really have to know the characters, know how these things function to get to it, because they'll be like, you have one turn to get from A to B, and the characters are separated out, and there are certain enemies along the way, and you really have to think, okay, I have to do this, to do this, to do this, to get to there. So like the quests themselves, like the quests are like actually super difficult because you really, really have to understand everything about the game mechanically and understand the characters, because you can usually bring anyone into these quests, but only certain characters will allow you to do what you need to do properly. The main story itself has been interesting so far. It's very much Persona. It very much fits into that entire world. The main battles in Persona in the actual storyline so far have not been difficult, but they've been fun. So for me, this hits at a wonderful time. I'm really, really enjoying it. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, we had a review go for this on the channel earlier today. I was sent over a Hello Real putter. They make a whole bunch of VR accessories. So they sent me over one for Walkabout Mini Golf VR, and this thing is awesome. I'm not going to go too far into it. Go check out the review, but like, feels premium. It has a good weight to it. I've been playing a bunch of Walkabout all over again now, just because, again, like it's legit made my golf game better. These things were limited edition. They're gone, but they have something that's similar now, so you can go check that out. They have a bunch of sales going on and stuff now, but legitimately, I know there are members of the community that have this thing as well and really, really enjoy it. It's great. So go check that out. But Jake,
yeah,
we got to talk, because I may have a bit of an inkling as to what you may have been playing on your Portal, but the Portal is out, and I had a surprise over the weekend, because we've talked about it on the show. We were kind of like, again, like we were passively looking at it. My Steam Deck kind of fulfills a lot of that need right now through Chiaki, so I was like, it's not something I'm on day one. Members of the community were excited about it, and we were kind of like, this thing probably won't be that difficult to get. This thing's sold out everywhere, so obviously it is hitting right. Jake, how has been your time with the Portal? Are you enjoying it? What's good? Like, tell me about it.
Yeah. I like the Portal a lot. And I think that people are being very weird about the Portal. I see. Yeah, I've got something to get off my chest about the Portal. I find that the Portal is, when the PlayStation Portal was announced, I pre-ordered it immediately because I love remote play. I use remote play regularly, and I've often said, man, I wish I didn't have to use my phone, didn't have to use a janky third-party attachment thing, didn't have to, I wish I could just do something that made this much simpler. And lo and behold, a little gadget from Daddy Sony himself, and I said, great, this is exactly what I asked for. And then these reviews come out, and everybody's talking about this product, and I feel like everybody's like, I don't like remote play. And I'm like, okay, like, what are you talking about? Like, it's very weird. I feel like almost every criticism of the product is not a criticism of the product, but is instead a criticism of a service that has existed for years. And now people are just now talking about it. And I'm like, yeah, there's latency depending on your internet connection. That's remote play. Like, what did you want them to, like, so I just have like a general confusion around it, because I feel like what I want this to do, it does really well. And that is, so first off, you're talking, you know what, actually, let me help you out. I got some B-roll for you. So you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So first off, form factor, incredible form factor for a handheld. Feels like a DualSense in a way that you don't feel like when I play my Nintendo Switch. I would never play Smash Brothers handheld. I would never do it because I feel hampered by that experience. But here I'm like, oh no, this is nice. This is exactly the same as I'm playing like normally with a DualSense controller. So that was a little bit of Mortal Kombat. Here's a little bit of Cyberpunk. These are just some games that I've been trying out on the Portal. And for some reason, my experience, and this is Justice League, the DC Cosmic Chaos game. Yeah. And for some reason in my house, I have a very good Portal experience. My internet is stellar. It's always been good. It's probably a contributing factor as to why I like remote play. And I gotta say, I think my remote play experience with this is better than it has been on any device. And I'm not trying to get into the weeds about my connection, but what I do want to get into the weeds about is like the quality of the screen, number one, which I don't know if this video is really selling it, but it's like an incredibly good like LCD screen. And even if it's not an OLED, it almost feels like it's been optimized in a way that it overcomes some of the shortcomings of being an LCD display. Now we've got some Nick Brawl going on, of course. And I don't know. There's a degree to which, all right, I'm going to go back to me. Hello, everybody. Jake. Hello. Okay. Yeah. So I have this experience on the Steam Deck where every time a Steam Deck game comes out, I feel like there's a game that people think might be good on Steam Deck or a Sony remaster. There's a contingent of people that like will spend days or weeks talking more about how to get the best performance out of the game than actually just playing the game.
100%.
And I feel like I'm witnessing a similar thing happening with the PlayStation Portal, where everybody is so obsessed with the degrees of latency and the milliseconds that they might be missing on their sweet game that they're not even using the device. It's like, I don't know. I'm extremely happy with it. I think it works. And the nasty boots in the chat, no Bluetooth audio. Let me get on my soapbox once again.
That's something I was going to ask. Because that for me, because bringing nasty boots, he says no browser, no Bluetooth, and can you go to PS and Steam stream games? Because for me, the Bluetooth was something that for me I was like, And then the other thing that I'm seeing in some reviews kind of highlighted as well is let's say you go anywhere, because it sounds like you've been predominantly using the Portal at home. But in on GameXplain YouTube channel, you can see at the end of my review discussion, I do a live demo in which I stream my PSN is logged into my brother's PlayStation 5, who lives across the city from me. So many miles away. And I streamed that PlayStation to my Portal live, and it felt exactly the same as the one in my house. That's awesome, because I think for me, like, because the way that I was looking at it is like, if I travel for work, if I'm around, or if I let's say go to a cafe or something, the thing that bothered me was the lack of ability to be able to sign into a Wi-Fi, because again, a lot of the hotels, you'll have to click the little checkbox and you're in. It's not a big issue when you're on your phone, but evidently so far the Portal has no way to handle that, so it just won't work. So I think those things for me, the PS Plus streaming for me isn't as much of a sell, because I don't use that feature much on my PlayStation anyway. So for me, I don't really have much of an issue there. But the Bluetooth and the lack of browser did bug me. So yeah, curious to hear Your thoughts on that side?
Yeah, so I think the no browser support thing, to me, where that comes from is this idea that people want to go to like a coffee shop, log into their PlayStation portal and play from there. And I think the reason that's not supported is because Sony is trying to protect its consumers from having a bad experience. I think Sony doesn't want you to log into some cruddy coffee shop Wi-Fi and then go, oh, the PlayStation portal sucks.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that that's probably what's going on there. And similarly with the Bluetooth audio, I don't know if you've ever done this, but like there was a patch on the Nintendo Switch earlier this year, maybe last year, that added Bluetooth audio support out of nowhere. So you can just connect any Bluetooth headset to the Switch. And it's not very good. And yeah. And a lot of these things that have built-in Bluetooth audio support, there's always a little bit of lag, which in gaming is not great. With something like music, you can get away with it because if you're behind in a song, you would never know. So in gaming, it's not great. But I think what's happening there is that you're already dealing with a little bit of lag, a little bit of latency from the fact that it is a remote play device that you're streaming. And then trying to introduce another competing signal in that environment, in the same device, I think that would have a chance of slowing down your signal that you're using to connect to your PS5 just because it's creating interference. And two, latency on top of latency. Now you're dealing with the visual latency of the game, the streaming latency, and then on top of that, the Bluetooth latency. So again, I think it's Sony trying to protect their consumers from a bad experience. I think they're saying, you don't want that latency, just plug a headset in. Yeah, so it's not, I'm not really defending it as much as I am explaining. I think it's just,
I think the kind of the tough part of it for me was that they were like, Bluetooth doesn't work, but by the way, we have PlayStation headphones coming out that will work. And I think that the timing of it, the kind of the 1-2 punch of this, you don't have this commonly accepted thing. And again, from the tech side, I can understand and I can see the argument. I think more it was like this doesn't work, but this will work. The proprietary hardware will work. And by the way, that is just as much as your portal. So I think the framing of that was probably not the best way that they could have done it. But yeah, so I get it. So you haven't had many issues with latency. You haven't had many issues with here's my question.
Yeah.
When I try and log in on my Steam Deck to remote play, right? Yeah. Remote play for certain games. Like a Dragon, I don't mind playing, but like for me, I would never want to log in and play Call of Duty, for example. And not because of the latency, but more of the controller feel. I feel like the Steam Deck, just by the kind of having the classic more Switch-like layout, it doesn't function as well. Do you find that using the DualSense, because that's what it is, you have the DualSense built in there, do you find it is one-to-one comparable to using a DualSense on screen, on a TV screen, in terms of like controller feel? Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Okay.
And man, if it's not one-to-one, it's pretty close.
Okay.
It really feels right. And the other weird thing about this is if you hold it in your hand, it feels like it's lighter than a Nintendo Switch. Now, I know that it's not, but because of the way the weight is distributed, it's funny. Me and the person I did my review discussion with at GameXplain both felt this way, and we both ended up looking it up and discovering that it was in fact heavier. But yeah, there's something about this that just really works. And I'm on it right now. I've got my PS5 going there.
Nice.
So this is so there you go. You can see there's my Nick Brawl. We're in there, baby. Yeah, there's something about it that it really is just it's not modified, you know what I mean? Like it feels like it is in fact a DualSense cut in half. And I think the only thing that's going to trip people up is just like, you and I have probably been playing video games our whole lives, and we're used to there being like a certain distance between our hands,
Right.
So there being like a little bit more, but no, like I would feel perfectly comfortable if I was just playing this on my PS5 and maybe I connected it with a wire. Like I'm playing Street Fighter. I would be just as good playing Street Fighter using this as I would be a normal controller.
Okay, yeah, because that for me, like again, the Steam Deck experience works well, but like I feel like that was the one area for me that it just doesn't translate as well.
Yeah.
So then, how's the battery life like? Because again, like from all intents and purposes, because everything that I hear about this thing is that the tech itself is good. Right, remote play as a service, and again, I think your point to them kind of protecting the consumer from a bad experience, I think is apt, but also almost feels a little bit, like they know the limitations of their own service, so they won't play outside of that. right? Like that's what it feels like to me. It does feel safeguarded. But how is the battery life? Because the tech seems good. How is the actual functionality of it?
Battery life's probably a little bit less than what you want. It's for me, it's less of an issue just because I don't really imagine myself. I'm just keeping this thing at home. So yeah, and I almost feel like DualSense battery life across the board is pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
And I know that's an issue for a lot of people. And again, it's not really an issue for me in the way that I play games, but I do like how like the charging port isn't on the bottom or the top of the device. It's hidden in this thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's neat. So like when I've got it plugged in here, it's not like I'm bothered by the wire being weird. Yeah, so that's like a silly little thing. I have a criticism of this device that I haven't seen anybody else voice, and I feel like again it's because people aren't familiar with remote play. And if you've ever used remote play, you know that there's two different things you can do. You can connect through the Wi-Fi in your house or otherwise, or you can do a local connection directly to your console. Are you familiar with this? Yeah.
Yes.
And for some reason, this can't do that.
Really?
Yeah. So like you need Wi-Fi with this thing. And a lot of people would, and this is what's weird about it. I think a lot of people would have a dramatically better experience if the Wi-Fi part was just taken out of it and you could do, sitting in front of your PlayStation 5, a direct connection, because that connection has typically been the best one. And
yeah, that to me, I just assumed that it was there. I hadn't even considered that it wouldn't have been.
Very weird. It's very weird. It feels like they went out of their way to make it so it couldn't, and I'm not sure why. I'd like to know what the technical reason is, because it just seems very odd to me.
Yeah, that seems like a very, very weird thing to just leave out. But okay, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Outside of the local connection, what are some other things that are kind of standing out to you, or that you wish could be improved, that you would want to see? You know, whether it's software updates or anything else. What do you think is missing?
Man, I like it a lot, I gotta say. Because to me, it's such a simple product. It's there are certain kinds of games. Maybe it's games I want to clean up trophies in. Maybe it's just like a turn-based, some RPGs, whatever. Or just like a game like Nick Brawl, where I really like playing that on there because it's like my fiance wants to watch something on the TV, and I will just be like, hey, while you're gonna fix something real quick. While you're while you are watching that show, I'm gonna remote play from my PlayStation 5's right there, but I'm just gonna remote play to this thing, and I'm gonna clear out some like arcade ladders, maybe do a campaign mode, something else, whatever. And to me, it's an off-screen device. And it kind of brings me back to like the Wii U in a way, where for me, the Wii U's killer feature wasn't the fact that like it had this gameplay where I could do one thing on the gamepad and one thing on the TV. It was the fact that in my house, I had a personal connection to this little device and could kind of silo myself out, even though I was still getting a home console experience.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing where like Octopath Traveler 2, would I ever opt to play that on my PS5 as opposed to my Nintendo Switch? No. But now I might. And because now I can get trophies, and now I can play it on this. And now if I ever want to play it on the TV, you know, on my PS5 for whatever reason, I can. And it's just kind of, that's the thing I think that this is opening up for me. It's making me reconsider. It's not a Nintendo Switch killer, I should say too, as much as it is for me a Steam Deck killer. Fair. Yeah, there are certain games that like on the Steam Deck, I was like, man, it is so cool that I can play this handheld, but I'm not taking my Steam Deck outside of my house almost ever. And oh my God, Seth, that is is everybody playing Octopath Traveler 2 out here? That is a good game.
I need to get to it. It's on my list because I loved the first one.
Yeah. Really fantastic. It's one of my favorite games of the year for sure. But anyways, it is really opening me up to and I think this is Sony's design, the being more in the PlayStation ecosystem than I was before, making me look at some of those games that I was like, oh, I would rather play that on Switch, and go, man, okay, now I can get a little PS5 performance bump, and all I have to deal with is whether or not my stream connection, I feel as a consumer, is good enough to play those games. And if it is, and it is in my house, And I think this goes without saying, if you want to know if this product is right for you, pull out your phone, go on the PlayStation app, remote play in your house, see how it is. And if you want an 8-inch screen and a DualSense controller and a built-in device that has its own battery life, so you don't have to siphon the battery life off your phone. And I got one of these big chonkers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you do.
And but just like having a device that it's so easy, man. I turn it on, I hit connect, it goes straight to it turns on my PlayStation 5 and
Nice.
I'm playing it. Like, man, and that's all I need. I don't know.
See, that's interesting for me because I love my Steam Deck. And similarly, once I got it, I had the effect of I'm going to play more games on this thing because some games just feel better handheld.
Yeah.
Persona 5 Tactica, I think, is a brilliant example of that. I'm enjoying playing it on my phone because, again, I don't know what it is about my brain, but if I'm sitting in front of the TV, I want to have a reason that I'm using this to its kind of full potential. And not to say that games don't deliver on that front, but some games just feel better handheld. Some games I would rather play on my Steam Deck. So maybe, again, you know, if I were to purchase a Portal, maybe that would be it. Maybe I would find myself back in the ecosystem even more, just because it works well. And again, similarly, our internet here is great. So like, I'm not really too worried about it. So I don't know, dude. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I definitely think that there is room to grow with this thing if they decide to ever go to a PlayStation Portable 2. I think there's PlayStation Portal 2. I think there's room to grow here. Would you want to see the PS Plus streaming? Would that be something that would enhance your experience? Because I know that's another common complaint as to what this thing is lacking.
Yeah, I honestly no. I have a hard time putting myself in the shoes of the person that wants that, because if I want, if I like, what's the difference between streaming something from PlayStation Plus versus streaming it from my PS5? Like, can I just download the game and then stream it from my PS? Like, what is that adding? Like, I don't really understand that.
I think for me, it's more like because let's say you're in the ecosystem, you're on premium, you want to play a PS3 game, right? That inherently you already have to stream onto the PS5 because you can't play it natively. You can't just download it to be able to play it. So if you wanted to play some of the classic catalog without like some of the stuff that you can't just download and play, you'd be able to access that on the Portal without being able to, you know, because you can't do that on the you can't download it on the PS5.
Oh wait, so you're telling me if I try to play one of those PS3 games right now on
evidently it won't let you. Evidently there's a block, it'll stop you. So the games, so like again, I can understand the argument of like, again, the PS5 game, yes, if you have good internet, download it and then you'll be able to play it. But a lot of the back catalog, a lot of the premium titles that you're paying for at that price point, the ones that you are only streamable, and especially with PlayStation's push into more streaming friendly stuff, it feels like an odd exclusion. And again, I think maybe this comes back to your point of you're essentially doubling the potential latency there because you're dealing with the latency that the PS5 has on top of the latency that the Portal may have, and then you're just doubling up. So I'm you know, now that I'm thinking about it after you talking about it, maybe that's the kind of the kind of stopgap there.
Wow, you're right. I can't believe it. It does in fact stop you. That's shocking.
It blocks you, yeah.
Because I figured it was literally just like streaming what was on screen. I didn't think that it was going through anything else. I can't believe it knows I'm even using this.
Yeah,
to be honest,
that's exactly it, right?
So wow, how interesting. I think they should figure that out, because the idea here is exact. I feel like they're selling something that is you can access your PS5 with this thing, and the fact that I can't do something that I could do on my PS5, that's like weird to me. If I try to go on Netflix, will it stop me?
That's an interesting point. I don't know. Let's live test this thing right now, because I'd imagine that, because usually when I remote play off of my Steam Deck, if I'm on Netflix, it won't even load through. I have to go to my PS5, go back to the home screen, and then I can kind of access it through remote play properly. If I left Netflix or Prime up, it won't work.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it does not let you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like
the app, right? The app side doesn't bother me as much, but like if you're buying into this because you're on premium, you're having that kind of, you're expecting that full suite, it feels like an odd exclusion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. It does. And the other thing I'm thinking about, since you brought it up, is the fact that like it does work with those specific Sony headphones that I don't think are even out yet, right?
No, they're coming out in like a couple of weeks.
And maybe like it might have been worth it for them to just come out and say, hey, there's like a wireless protocol that we're using in these. And you know how like you have a PlayStation headset and you plug it in with a USB stick, and that's how it's a direct connection. Like that to me, though, I've always had good performance with those. And and these new headsets probably just have a technology similar to that built in. And I feel like they could have just said something like that.
They have addressed that to some extent, because I think they talked about like PlayStation. I think it's called PlayStation Link. They like named it and everything, very Apple style, where it's like a specific way that they're using the connection that differs from just regular Bluetooth that allows that connection to work better, something along those lines. There was some verbiage put out. I just think, again, the marketing timing of this won't work, but here's a solution, here's a proprietary solution, and anything proprietary when it comes to the gaming is never initially received well.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, okay. Well, that's yeah. To kind of make this come full circle here, I think that the PlayStation Portal is the best answer to a question that not a lot of people were asking. And I think all of the sudden, anytime a new piece of hardware comes out, the gaming enthusiasts, they want it to be for them. And I think maybe it's hard to accept that something just like isn't for you. This new shiny piece of tech that like looks cool. And it's like, listen, you don't even really need this. You know what I mean? I think if you're not already remote playing, a lot of people might pick this up and just like never use it. Because if you're not remote playing now, I don't think it's going to make you start remote playing.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I live in a household where there's one TV and I share it, and I'm happy to do that. And I think a lot of people probably game on like their monitors or in their own personal spaces. And like, why, what are you trying to do? You're having a great time. Just keep having it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Again, like I think after us talking about it, I might be more inclined to pick one up than I was before. Because again, I like the idea of it. The idea of it. And I'm kind of curious to see how it continues on. But thanks, dude. Thanks for hitting us with your thoughts and feelings on the Portal. I know the people in the community that have it have really, really been enjoying it. And again, it obviously is selling well enough that it's sold out everywhere. But you know what isn't sold out everywhere? Is Court Lalonde making an appearance, the Supreme Court of Canada himself.
Sorry, I'm all professional right now. I do apologize.
Look at you.
Heck yeah.
You apologize for being professional?
Well, I guess. I don't know. I don't usually wear a collared shirt. I'm only professional at the top, definitely not at the bottom.
Okay.
Definitely like a news reporter
completely naked. Yeah, all right.
But I did catch the very end of what Jake was and thank you for being here, Jake. At talking about with the remote play, and as Matt knows, I used it for the very first time, and I was actually blown away with it when I was away on a work trip. I'm starting to travel again, but I'm still very curious on how well the Portal would work. Yeah, if I was in in Michigan, and I'm my PlayStation is in Canada in rest mode, right?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I'll be going to the Game Awards next week. So, maybe take it along with me, give it some testy poos. But I just want to, since Court's here too, I just want to say, like, this is so stupid, but even just like having it open on my home screen and the like, I don't know, man, like I'm just like going between things on the menu and it feels like it does when I'm just playing at home. Like, I know that's such a dumb test, but I like forget that it's streaming. And
the feel is important, right? Like it is.
Well, yeah, that's like I remember when I first turned on the when I was away, and I was like, I messaged Matt and I was like, it's working, and I'm like sending him photos, and I was like, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Mirage on my iPad. It looked great. I'm getting haptic feedback. I'm getting all the greatness. But then I got a message from my wife, and she's like, your PlayStation's on, and it's driving me insane. Because that is the other catch. Like, it does turn on your TV and your PlayStation.
Oh, yeah, it's so funny. Oh, so you're telling me because your TV has CEC enabled that when you remote play, it turns on your TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can disable that in the settings, though. You can turn that off.
That's what Matt messaged me. Matt was like, oh, you can disable that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to go message my wife right now and walk her through how to disable that right now. But the good news is, as soon as I turned off the iPad, the PlayStation would go back into rest mode, because you can, as Jake was saying, it's so seamless. Like when you're literally going through the menu, it's like you're going through the menu. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's like your PlayStation is right there in front of you. So it is very cool. For me, I have an iPad and the thing, but I could see I don't know. I could see the use for it. I really can, especially like as a parent. Like,
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have that extra television, but when a lot of my friends, they don't have. When I told them about the Portal, they were blown away. They were like, "Well, this is something I actually need." Like like the kids got the one TV, the wife's got the other TV. I just want to play video games. You can still do that.
Oh, heck yeah. And I think especially too, Court, that's a great point, because I think there's a lot of people that aren't super into like the gaming scene the way that we are, but still like have a PS5, and they're going to pick this thing up. It's going to work, and they're not picking up on the latency and the frame. You know what I mean? Like if I was a kid and I had this, dear God, man, that would be unreal to me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's a place for this product. And it's having a lot of friction with like our specific place of gaming enthusiasts, because it's not necessarily for us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is for us at all.
Yeah.
No. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. Court and I have been eyeing it. I'm sure both of us are gonna end up owning this thing.
I almost bought one. It was at Best Buy. It was so close. So I went to go to the movies. I went and saw Wish this weekend, and I wish it was better. But
oh God, Court, don't even get me started. That is such a bad movie.
Yeah, it is really. It's just a giant commercial for Disney.
Blowing my mind how bad
it's just all it is one Easter egg after another, but they're not Easter eggs. They're just blatantly there. Yeah. But I walked into Best Buy and I saw it behind the counter, and the guy was like, "Yeah, we get like 2 every 3 days here." And I'm like, and my daughter's like, "Should we get it?" And I'm like, "No. Now that you saying we need to get it, no, we do not need to get this. You're going to break it in a second. Forget this."
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be buying into this thing now. The more we talk about it, the more I want one now.
Well, Matt, your future,
the FOMO is bad.
I think, and I know your setup. I think this is perfect for you.
Well,
I do. I truly do.
You know my future and you know my setup, but you also know your credit card number and my address. So whatever it is that you got to do. You know what, guys? I'm just going to throw the news out this week. We've had an awesome conversation about Nickelodeon. We've talked about the Portal. I want to get into the community questions because we have some for Jake. Okay. We'll swing the news back around next week, because I feel like the conversation about ads and gaming is a larger conversation that I don't want to just ham fist into the
especially because I have my opinions and Matt has his, and they're polar opposite.
Yeah. And like I feel like it's a good discussion to have. I just don't want to throw it in here last second. But we have questions.
Jake's like, this is like the perfect conversation for me. I love this. He was like chomping at the bit to have a
bring on the questions. Bring on the questions. Yeah.
Let's bring the community in. If you want your questions on the show, make sure you hit us up on YouTube, hit us up on our free Discord, or on the weekly X post that goes live, just like Rice at RiceBoyTV did, coming in with a last minute question last week that we couldn't get to. But Rice writes in and asks, "Hey friends, if you could request for any PlayStation game to be remade, not just remastered, for the PS5, what title would that be, and from what generation?" Court, I'm going to throw to you first, because I feel like your answer is locked and loaded. Infamous. And I'm going to say something that you can't be Infamous. Infamous is always our answer. Infamous is always our
BioShock.
Answer. Always.
That's BioShock. 2 of the best games from the PlayStation 3 era / Xbox 360 area. Probably one of the best eras ever in gaming, because both, regardless whether it was Xbox or PlayStation, the first party on both sides plus the AAA were just unbelievably good. Like, it was just great game after great game. But first party, it's always Infamous. But like, if someone could just remake from the ground up BioShock, it would just be like Scrooge McDuck money. The amount of people that would buy this game is craziness.
Okay, Jake, what about you?
Love Infamous. Love it. Fun fact, I was once at the top of the leaderboards on the Infamous First Light.
Wow, let's go.
I was a sicko. I was sweating hard. Yeah. But love Infamous. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many that come to mind for me. And lately I've been thinking that a remake of Kingdom Hearts 1 would be really cool.
Yes.
Is that the one with the skateboarding?
No, that's 2.
No, that's 2.
Listen, I want two. Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be cool to like do a I mean, listen, it would be really cool if they kind of did like a Final Fantasy VII remake-esque thing with Kingdom Hearts, and we're like, let's do like the story of 1 and 2, let's like put them together in one kind of game, kind of thing. Yep. But like those games are like, man, those are like PS2 era games, and they've been like remastered. I think they kind of do hold up, but it would be so cool to just like revitalize those combat systems and like get something new going, and or like re-experience those games, because I still have a lot of love for them.
I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is a fantastic call because I think Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, still holds up quite well.
It does.
Kingdom Hearts 1, I think, is the one that suffers the most in terms of the quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like a from the ground remake of 1 would be amazing. But you just given me a whole new thing that I want that I hadn't even realized I wanted. For me, again, taking Infamous off the table because that's always our go-to answer.
Yeah.
I really
because it's one of the best games ever that hasn't
100%.
Okay.
And again, it's like the money that they're leaving on the ground for what that franchise could be right now.
Especially during like when superheroes became like the apex. Like, oh my God, like they think about all the great TV shows that show the anti-hero as the hero, and you have Cole McGrath just sitting there.
Yep.
Not Delson. No one needs to see that again. Just Cole McGrath.
Do you think Spider-Man killed Infamous?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think on the inside they said nobody's going to care about our little fake superhero?
I think so, but I disagree with them.
Right.
Because I always look, nostalgia sells. Our generation bought that game, loves that game.
Yeah.
And we also have the most disposable income. Just make us the game.
Sure.
Cool. I think that like what I hope that they're doing is they're doing what they did with God of War is they're just letting it sit for now and they'll bring it back in a really cool way down the line because I feel like now God of War is probably bigger than it's ever been. So I'm hoping that's what they're doing with Infamous. I want Persona 4 Golden. I want like a Persona 3.
I'm so shocked.
I want a Persona 3 reload of Persona 4 Golden. I want that thing brought. I want to like give me the Persona 5 level graphics, give me that world back, make it completely explorable, like just completely go nuts with it. Add in the quality of life stuff. I would love that game brought back to the forefront because right now you can play it. It's there. But like Persona 3 Reload was already like a giant wish of mine that is now coming true. Thank you to the Disney movie Wish because that's probably why it happened. But also I just want Persona 4. I want Golden in that.
Wish was so bad that my 7-year-old walked out of that movie and was like, yeah, that wasn't good.
Wow.
Like, oh wow. Because I always have the like, would you want to watch it again when it hits Disney Plus? And she's like, nope. We watched a movie though later on that evening called The Naughty 8, which is like a kids take over Santa and get back their naughty. She loved that movie. Like, love that movie. I was like, which was better? And she was like, that movie. I was like, wow. Well, the low budget Disney like live action Christmas movie that they put together like a Hallmark movie was better than Wish.
On one hand,
how do we get Court to play Kingdom Hearts? There's no way. There's no way. His brain would melt out of his ears.
I played the last Kingdom Hearts and I played it with my daughter. Yes, and
that's the way. His daughter. We have to get his daughter invested in the OG Disney.
So I actually think Kingdom Hearts would sell like gangbusters, especially because of the Disney has gone from it is now bigger than it's ever been, right? You bring out a game and just market it, and Disney markets it instead of Square Enix, because let's be honest here. And they put it on every console. It needs to be on Xbox, it needs to be on PlayStation, it needs to be on PC, it needs to be for everyone to play it. The game sells tons.
Okay. Let's slide into our next question from Nagachaka. Question for Jake, but not about the PlayStation Portal. I want to know if Jake has played Baldur's Gate 3, and if he has, what are his thoughts on the game? It's caught my interest, but my backlog is yelling at me not to buy any more games. Thanks, Nagachaka.
Yes, I have played Baldur's Gate 3, and Baldur's Gate 3 is pretty much as good as everybody says it is. It's I think that it's one of the few video games I've ever played where the story never stops. Every single moment, every tiny decision, the direction I walk in, the people I talk to, the actions I take in combat, it all feels like it's part of a meaningful narrative. And nothing is siloed away and separate. There's not a story team over here and a gameplay team over here. And I'm not like watching a cutscene and then going back to the game. It's all one thing. And it has made me understand my friends that play D&D more. It has become a bridge to my like friends that really like tabletop games, and now we have like a like language that we can use in talking to each other that's like really I think creative and special and interesting. And the game just has like a lot of good trappings too. I think also just as like an RPG, as like a CRPG, like the combat stuff like that. It's all good on its own. And then it's also like a little special. It's also like a little special, unique and fun and campy and humorous, not too self-serious like a lot of big AAA games typically are. It wears the goofiness that I think is inherent to D&D on its sleeve a little bit. And I really appreciate that because I think there's a version of this game that is so self-serious and like, oh man, it's like a Witcher type RPG that is occasionally hard for me to access. And the fact that there is like a sentimentality here and a touch that invites you as the player to be creative, I think is really special and unique. So yeah, I like Baldur's Gate 3 a lot. I highly recommend it.
Nagachaka, get on it. You would love it. I'm telling you right now. Black Wyver comes in. Questions for the show. He's got 3. First one up. What are Jake's thoughts on Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm excited for it. So here's the deal. I'm a huge DC guy. Used to work at WB and did some stuff over there with them. And Superman, as I mentioned earlier, my favorite fictional character of all time. And I think the problem with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is that it looks like a pretty polished, well-made third-person shooter with cool traversal mechanics, but it has this DC skin painted on top of it that has nothing to do with the game. Like, there's this weird thing where I think, like, you see these reviews for games where it's like, the Spider-Man makes me feel like Spider-Man. And you're not going to get that comment about this game. Nobody's going to feel like Harley Quinn or feel like King Shark. And the thing that really bugs me about it is that, like, there are things that are unique and special to these characters. Like Captain Boomerang. He could have a really cool, like, small gameplay loop that revolves around best utilizing this throwable projectile, right? Like, there's we can kind of imagine that. It's like a little bit of a mix between like a third-person shooter, but also the axe from God of War. Like, there's
some sort of puzzle mechanic that he needs to use.
Yeah, and there's like a way that you could bring that into the combat. And they said, okay, so the things that are going to differentiate our characters, it will not be the combat. It will all be guns. It will be the traversal mechanics. And then they picked 4 characters that essentially traverse the same way and gave them tools outside of their characters to be the things that made them different. So they were like, okay, you will have a jetpack and that is what will make you different. But if you look at the gameplay, King Shark jumps up into the air and he does like 8 air dashes and they're exactly the same as the air dashes the guy with the jetpack does. So you can't just say that they're different and give them all the same tools. It's just such a bummer. And the thing is that, like, as a DC fan, this really disappoints me. I think there might be some cool, like, narrative stuff. It looks like a high budget, high quality production. And, but that's kind of what I'm saying is the opposite of Baldur's Gate, where it's like, I'm going to play the game and then the story will happen to me. And that's one kind of game experience. And I think as a DC fan, it disappoints me. These aren't even the characters I wish they were investing in. But as somebody that likes co-op shooters, your Remnant from the Ashes, your Destinies, like those kinds of Borderlands, like I'm getting some good vibes out of this game that I'm like, that looks fun. That looks like something I will have fun playing with my brother, playing with my friend, talking as we're playing, just like roaming around this environment, swinging around, shooting stuff. And I think it'll be fun. I don't think it'll be
a good... You just said swinging around, and that's what the Harley Quinn traversal mechanic is. Still annoys me.
Dude, it's so
stupid. Is she Wonder Woman or like Spider-Man or something? I don't get it.
Well, and I'm sorry. I agree that, like, the jetpack looks cool, King Shark looks cool, like Captain Boomerang, but Harley, there's no motion to her movement,
especially
like,
because in the Arkham
it looks
games,
like Spider-Man in Avengers. It's just like,
especially in the Arkham games, they made her so acrobatic, and they're like, for me as a DC fan as well, and we get punished a little bit because the Marvel movies are so much better, because for some reason WB just keeps stepping on their toes every time they try and make a movie, unless they make the Batman or like they do something that's not in an extended universe. But I am more interested. I just want to play the story, just like Gotham Knights, which as a DC fan, I don't even know if I can even recommend that. It's just painful, but because the story is so disconjointed and they take such an amazing thing in the Court of Owls and they just butcher it. But I want to know what because I got hooked when they said we're gonna do a Rocksteady story here, and I was like, all right, are they going to do something? They're going to flip the script and they're going to give me this story that no one's going to expect. So I'm probably going to play this game and either get disappointed or get stuck in a loop of a game that could be anything else, but it just has DC skins, as Jake said.
Here's what I want from it. Here's the dream. If the micro loop of the game that just like jumping around, shooting stuff, getting like new guns, those guns in like a Borderlands-y way, like you go in, you see what they are, and they do feel different from gun to gun. If that loop is good, all I want from this game is like you play through the story, you have a good time, and then 3 months later they go, hey, the Green Lantern Corps is coming to take you down. There's a
That'd be
Green
cool.
Lantern event.
There we
Like,
go.
and I, because you know, these Destiny people, they get so excited when the new content comes around. And it's hard for me to, like, Warframe is like this too. It's hard for me to
Do
get
the
past.
Destiny people get excited anymore? I feel like they just get angry now.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of those friends IRL, but like, if there could be something like this that has events that, like, I see what it is and I go, that sounds cool. I will jump back in for that. I will come back in and play the game for a little bit, and then hop back out. That's all I need. That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
I hope it'll be fun to play, because again, that's kind of my baseline for this game. That's all. I hope it's fun to play.
Yeah.
Black Wyver had a second question about remakes and remasters. What's something we want to see that could come out in 2024? We kind of talked about that already, so we'll slide into his third question. Since owning your console, and this is kind of the all of us have you opened it up to clean it, or have you added additional storage?
I did this 2 days ago. I literally just opened it up to clean it. I was just cleaning my house. I gave a look over my launch PS5. I was looking in those little vents, and I said, "Oh, my sweet ladies are a little dusty." And I was like, "All right." So I take the PS5, I unplug it, I put it on my table, and I go, "Oh God, I hate taking these faceplates off. It's so hard." And for some reason, it was like King Arthur and Excalibur, man. I took those ones. I was like, wow, why was it so ezy this time? And, and I cleaned up my PS5, and I felt really good about it because it was dusty in there. But I've also added storage on some like maybe 6 months ago. So yeah.
Yeah, I've cleaned it once. I think it's kind of due for another cleaning now. Once or twice. I haven't added additional storage yet. I keep looking at it. I just haven't actually bought it yet. Court, you've added additional storage.
Yes, I did add additional storage. I even just recently changed the faceplates thanks to somebody. So I now do my PlayStation is purple. So it's officially my daughter's PlayStation. But I tried to clean it. Mine's not dirty. So whenever and like take whatever I'm about to say.
Hold on. Which one, Court? Which PlayStation is?
So I tried to clean both of them. The digital that is in the basement, and then I have the disc version that is in my office that is now purple. So it's the Barney PlayStation. I took both apart and I went for the air to clean it, and there's zero dust in it. Maybe, and this is just maybe, I have minor bits of OCD, so I dust I literally on a weekly basis dust my office. I clean my house three times a week. I vacuum. So when I do see all those like people cleaning their PlayStation, and I see the person and I'm like, see how gross it is, I'm just like, all I want to do is go to their house and teach them how to clean.
Well, okay, hold on. I just want to be clear here. All right, I want to be. It wasn't a
no. I'm not saying it was disgusting. Have you seen Have you seen some of these PlayStations?
No, I know what you're talking about. I
don't
want to
open them up, and I'm just like, oh my God! We saw something on the internet yesterday, and someone was complaining about something for VR, and their VR goggles look like they put it in poop. Like I don't understand how gross these things can get. Like simple dusting and cleaning of your house, you will barely ever have to clean your console. So when I hear about, they're like, oh, my fan's not working because it's so dusty, I'm like, you need me to come over and teach you how to clean. Like yours wasn't broken, Jake. I'm saying when people are like, oh, my console doesn't work and it's like 6 months old, it also could be, and I will say this, if my houses are always then the windows are very rarely ever open. So if you have your windows open a lot, you are bringing in a lot of particles from the outside, and that will get into your console. So I will give like a preface, but I'm not calling everybody dirty, just most people.
Yo, hats off to the PS5 though. I do feel like that design is good at like handling the dust, because when I take that faceplate off, the majority of the dust is just like these little like the slats, at the top.
Yeah.
And then when I actually opened it up, I was like, man, none of that got in here, huh? So I feel like they figured something out this time around. And it's making it so like it like keeps quiet and doesn't have those like problems.
Not jet engine.
Yeah. We have one last question that I need to bring in a visual aid for, coming from Twitter from Steve Vigvari. Hi, PlayStation Drive. Long time, first time. I need Jake to weigh in on this. What is the ideal cook on bacon? And if it's number 6, who hurt you as a child?
Wow. Okay. All right, here's what I've got for you. I'm not really a bacon man, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not really a bacon man. Like, given the option, I will always opt for the sausage patty. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
And yeah, I'm not a bacon man. But but my whole thing with it is that I don't really like crunchy meat. I don't want my
Okay.
meat to crunch. So right now, the one that looks most appetizing to me is I kind of want just like number 2. You walk it across the grill. You know, you just walk it
quick
across.
slathering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
it's like a McDonald's. Like when you go to McDonald's or like Wendy's and all that, their bacon is barely cooked. To me.
Limp.
Yeah, thank you, man. It is kind of limp.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's kind of what I want. I want it like a fruit roll up of bacon.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
That's an idea. Court, where are you at on the bacon scale?
So for me, it depends on what it's going on. So when I'm having a sandwich, I want it to have that crisp. I want it to add that crunch, like when you're having like a club sandwich. Your lettuce gives you that freshness and a little bit of a crisp. But at 4 is 5 and 6 are just unholy, but 4 is pretty much perfect. And then 3, I think would be better for like a hamburger. So when you're doing a hamburger and such, I think 3 and 4 are my 2 favorites. Like tonight, I'm making for dinner. We have breakfast for dinner once a month. So tonight we make like a wrap. So we have scrambled eggs with bacon and some home fries, and we just put French fries in the wrap. So it's like you're in Europe. But I'm gonna go with like a number 3 because if you have the crispy, it doesn't go well with the wrap. So it all depends on the bread that you're using with the bacon for me.
The intention behind the cook.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I'm a 4. I think 4 is that sweet spot. Sometimes I like a 4.5. I don't think going as far as 5. I don't like to see I don't want to see it like, burnt, but like a 4 is that sweet spot for me. But I think you're right. I think the intention is part of the conversation here. But there you go, Steve. Thank you for coming in with, as always, some of the best questions in the biz. This brings us to the end of the show. Jake, thanks so much for coming to hang out with us again. It is always such a pleasure.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad Court could get his lazy bum onto this show. Finally, join us in the back half here. But no, I love the place.
Back and clean up as always. Gotta take it home for us.
Just such a big fan. Love to see you guys grow. Love seeing the topics you cover each and every week. So such a pleasure to be here. Have me on anytime, please.
Hell yeah! And where can people find more of you?
Oh, at Jake Knows It on Twitter. Knows like the thing on your face. And if you're going to the Game Awards next week, stop me, say hello.
There you go. Go check out Jake and on GameXplain. Go find him at the Game Awards. And in fact, just like go find him even if you're not going to the Game Awards. If you're there,
hey, Jake, before I go, are you going to go at PAX?
In like
PAX East in March. It's not far from you.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
I'm going. We'll see you there.
Great.
You're going now.
Okay, great.
Court, I'm gonna just need you to bring like a cardboard standee of me to carry around.
Oh, that will be honestly. I'll bring you even to the hockey game. So like for me,
I don't have
PAX,
to go
like,
there.
it was like a double win for me because the Bruins are playing twice, and I'm like, I can catch 2 hockey games, go to PAX East, and I'm using points. Like it's like perfect trip.
There you go. Court, where can people find you?
You can find me at Court Lalonde or at Carpool Gaming on Twitter, not X. X is not a thing. And you can find me every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. on 3 Dads and a Console.
Make sure you go check out Court and all the things. You can find me over on X at Matt_SilverSoul. And of course, here on the PlayStation Drive each and every week. And as we come to the close of the show, we have to thank all of our incredibly wonderful patrons. We appreciate all of the support that you guys give us. But of course, we need to shout out our ultimate producers, Tony Baker, who you can find at youtube.com/quest4pixels. Jonathan Brown, you can find his link tree at pme.jib. Jake was grooving to the intro song. That is good old Jonathan Brown. So make sure you go check out all of his stuff. He makes fantastic beats. Lee Navarro, who you can find over on PhoenixOverdrive.com. Of course, our fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. And of course, the homies Trucker, Sloth, and Cwagmire, who reminds you that the best babes are Xenobabes. Our platinum producer, Jonas Young. And of course, our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Bowsah, Brian Eck, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Hoppel, John 32, Marcus O'Neill, MoSpankins, Peje EP, ScheiGuy, and Tim Aulph. We appreciate all of you so very, very much. And we'll be back next week. Peace.